Good morning and thank you for joining us on After GMS. It is Wednesday, June 16th. We are midway through the month and we have a lot to look forward to. Father's Day, first day of summer, less humidity. I mean, what else?
Win, win, win. And our team all back together in studio for the first time in forever. So it's awesome.
That is awesome. Although I guess, Ed Matthews, technically, you're outside.
And I'm loving every minute of it. It's great out here. It feels wonderful.
I bet. So is that because of the lower humidity, Christian?
It is a little bit because of that lower humidity. Actually, it's a lot a bit because of the lower humidity. That makes really all of the difference. Remember last week we were talking about how muggy it was? This week that's a totally different story, at least for a few days. Live look over the Triad right now in Greensboro, Winston, High Point, and Burlington all look good. Temperatures in the mid-60s right now, 65 in Greensboro. 65 in Winston-Salem. Good morning to you. 59 in High Point, still holding on to some 50s there. 62 in Asheboro and 66 over in Lexington. Of course, we've been talking about it. The dew points, the humidity making all of the difference. In the 50s, in that comfortable range, and that really doesn't happen often in the month of June and less often as we go throughout the summer. So enjoy it while we have it. All a result of this high pressure from Canada and from the north building into the region, and that will continue to be the story over the next few days. Now, eventually that high will start to weaken and we'll start to shift offshore, and then we start to change things up again. Our winds will start to come out of the south and we start to build on the heat and the humidity as well. Now, we're also going to be keeping our eyes on something down in the Gulf, which I'll talk about in just a moment. For today, though, plenty of sunshine to go around. Enjoy that. Low 80s for those afternoon highs, and with that lower humidity, it's just a really comfortable day to be outside. Enjoy it, take advantage of it. And with that lower humidity and the clear skies, both of those things work together. And when the air is drier, it cools off a whole lot faster. So expect us to drop down into the mid 50s tonight. I don't think that's out of the question. Maybe even some low 50s as you go back to the west in the foothills and mountain communities and in some of those higher elevations. So it'll be a comfortable and cool night of weather and a cool start out the door for your Thursday. Now, I mentioned we're keeping our eyes on something down in the Gulf. This system hasn't even formed yet, but there's a little area, a little disturbance just off the Bay of Campeche, which probably will become a tropical system over the next 5 days. It has a 90% chance right now of development, and if it does develop, it could eventually bring us some heavy rainfall by the time we get into early next week. So mainly watching Monday and Tuesday, and typically in a situation like this, if we get a system to form in the Gulf and its remnants track toward us, it can not only bring heavy rain, but it can also bring a low tornado threat with it as well. Now again, it's still way too early to nail down or really talk details on that. The system hasn't even formed yet, although it likely will. And just to keep in mind, we already have had Tropical Storm Ana and we've had Tropical Storm Bill so far, and this would be Claudette if it forms.
And that actually leads us right into our first conversation. Now that we're starting to see the first signs of tropical activity, we want to know what questions you have for our weather guy, so leave them in the chat below. But we do have a question to get to first off. It comes with many people already planning those summer trips. Susan says her family is vacationing next week, and she wants to know how Destin, Florida could be affected by the storm that's forming in the Gulf. So Christian, I know it's early and we're still not sure what's going to happen, but maybe what can folks going to Florida watch for?
Well, you know, if you're talking about Destin, Florida, and you're talking about areas in the Panhandle, really it's still all dependent. Everything is still dependent on the fact that this system forms. Again, it's pretty likely that it will, but it just hasn't formed yet. So, you know, when we are looking ahead and we're forecasting systems like this, we're going off the computer models right now because nothing has formed, nothing has happened yet. So its current track would kind of keep it away from the Panhandle, but once it forms and once it starts to move a little bit, we'll know a whole lot more. So, you know, I'm not going to put guarantees or make guarantees on exactly what's going to happen with the track, but all of the rain, all of the wind, all of that will be dependent on where the storm tracks once it does form, which is likely to happen in the next 3 or 4 days. It has that 90% chance of development over the next 5, but it seems like it may develop a little quicker than that. So once it develops, I'll be able to say a whole lot more on exactly where it's going. Right now, without it being formed, you know, I can say the Panhandle is probably going to get some rain, probably going to get some wind, but just until that thing actually becomes a thing, it's still too early to nail down those details.
Yeah, we got a question from Heather Ed. She said, I saw something yesterday about how the waters in the Gulf and Atlantic are almost as warm as they were in 2005. Do you know if we'll be dealing with something like that again? Obviously, 2005 was the Katrina year. It happened in August.
Right.
It was a very active year. Is that
what we're expecting this go around?
Well, there are really two things, but we look at a lot of different things, but there are two things that we're looking at and thinking that this is going to be a rather active tropical season with maybe as many as 20 named storms as we go through this tropical season. We look at sea surface temperatures and they continue to get warmer. Each year the sea surface temperatures continue to get warmer. We haven't seen any cooling, not over the Atlantic and especially the Gulf of Mexico, which is a little bit more of a shallow basin, if you will. And Christian and I were looking at sea surface temperatures in that area of the Gulf of Mexico, and they're in the mid 80s. So you have to have the threshold to be about 80-degree sea surface temperatures to get a tropical system going. So we look at that, and also we look at upper level winds over the tropics, and they are forecast to be relatively light, and I'm talking about the general environment. When the winds are light, those thunderstorms organize into a tropical system. If you have stronger upper level winds in the overall environment, it tends to kind of tear those systems apart. So those are the two main things that we're looking at: very warm sea surface temperatures and also an environment of lighter winds that would allow these systems to really develop.
Well, I tried to tackle a weather question for you guys. Sherry Henderson said, what are the planned names for hurricanes this year? And I replied, I know Julian is one of them, my son's name. So excited for that. But where can she go to find the list of hurricane names?
She can, I'll tell you guys what, it's really easy to find. You can just type, you can actually just Google 2021 Atlantic hurricane season names. Make sure you type Atlantic hurricane season names or you might get a different list. I can tell you, I've got them pulled up right here. Actually, this year is a whole lot easier to pronounce than last year. There were so many names we couldn't pronounce last year.
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now, Christian. They seem like more like, you know, names that we would hear typically.
Yeah, so if this forms in the Gulf and becomes a tropical storm, which it likely will, this would be Claudette. So we've already had Anna, we've had Bill, this would be Claudette, and then a couple after that are Danny, Elsa, not from Frozen, Fred, Grace, and Henry. And then after that, I mean, they're pretty common names. There's Mindy's in there, Kate's in there this year, and like Tracy said, Julian is in there too.
Yeah, Carol Harris said, better watch out for Hurricane Julian. But as a baby, he's very calm. So hopefully the hurricane, if there is one that would be named after him, would take and follow suit. So he's a calm baby, very low key.
I'll also throw in there, if you actually do go and Google that full list of names, we talk about how difficult they are to pronounce every year, and those pronunciations actually come straight from the Hurricane Center. And beside those names, you'll not only see the name, but you'll also see the pronunciation of it as well, so you can learn a little bit that way too.
Yeah, we go by alphabetical order, obviously, in hurricane season. And so the sooner we get farther down the alphabet, that means the more active hurricane season we have. I mean, we had Hurricane Michael, I remember, back in October 2018, and that was a pretty bad one here in the Triad. People reported a lot of damage and flooding from that storm. Even worse for our area, it seemed, than Florence. Last year, though, Ed, we went through the regular alphabet, through the Greek alphabet, and it prompted Noah to revisit how we even name these storms.
I know, it was really interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how far up the alphabet we go. Again, the current forecast calls for maybe as many as 20 named systems. That would be the level of tropical storm, and 10 hurricanes, and maybe out of that 10 hurricanes that develop, 5 of those could be major hurricanes with winds topping over 110 miles per hour. It's going to be potentially a very busy season for the tropics.
All right.
Stacey, I was going to say, are you monitoring any other questions? I'm having so much fun talking with Carol. And there's another mom on here who has a baby named Julian. So I've been distracted talking about baby names and not hurricane names. But is anybody else saying anything?
Not any other specific like weather-related questions. Jason, you know, he's the comic relief in our stream. He said, is there a Karen in there? And Christian replied, no, the K name this year is Kate, not Karen.
Oh gosh. And then obviously if these storms are severe, they retire those names and then don't use them again. So
there you go.
All right, let's get to our morning headlines, and then we have another talker coming up momentarily, so you can start weighing in on that in our feed here. But let's start with this morning headline. We're expecting an update from the Winston-Salem Police Department today after a violent few days in the city. Monday, police said a suspect fired shots into a police station and then at officers before being taken into custody. The shooting happened a day after police opened 3 deadly shooting investigations this past weekend. Today's update is happening at 10 a.m. You can watch it live on WFMYnews2.com.
A new safe space has opened for anyone dealing with mental health challenges in our community. Guilford County's Behavioral Health Center is now open, the first of its kind in our state. WFMY News 2's Denise McMiller has a closer look at the services it offers.
This 60,000 square foot campus keeps folks with mental health challenges out of hospitals and emergency rooms and in a place that provides short-term care and resources. And Guilford County says that this new behavioral health center will service about 4,000 people a year. The site is on 3rd Street in Greensboro. There's a mental health urgent care center and on-site pharmacy. Substance abuse cases will also be handled at the facility, and the campus has 2 16-bed crisis centers, one for adults and another for children. And folks can stay on campus for up to 5 days.
If we detect people with anxiety and depression earlier on in life, you have better outcomes. Why is it that we don't take the trouble to provide the same resources for behavioral health that we do for physical health? And that's where this center comes into place.
And it impacts our first responders, our law enforcement community, our EMS community, our fire service community, as well as our jails and other things. So, it's about getting people the right resource for the right issue.
The adult center opened Monday, and they'll welcome youth services in the next 2 weeks. And this site is available to anyone, not just folks who live here in Guilford County. And the site is open 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Okay, let's go ahead and get to our next talker this morning. For the first time in 2 years, fans will be back at the Wyndham Golf Tournament. And as we talk about tickets, we want to know, what are your favorite Wyndham memories? You can go ahead and let us know in the feed below. So tickets actually go on sale today. All tickets have to be purchased before the tournament, and everyone will get digital tickets. Margaritaville will also be back this year. And if you're interested in either single day tickets or full weekend passes, we do have all the information on our website, WFMYnews2.com. So let us know your favorite memories. Guys, sadly, I have not been. Of course, I moved here the first summer that it happened. I guess I just didn't really know much about it. And then last year, there were no fans. So hopefully maybe I can go this year. My husband loves golf, so I just don't know how that would work with a newborn. We'll see.
I can babysit.
Okay.
And you'd be surprised, there are a lot of children that go out to the Wyndham. So don't don't have them on the course when they're, trying to sink a 2-inch putt, but you never know. So my favorite memories are actually when the Wyndham was the Greater Greensboro Open. Ed Matthews, you probably remember that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So my father would bring me, and he'd bring my brother, of course. I don't remember him going because I just ignored him. But I went for the golf, and I just loved those memories of like sitting on my dad's shoulders, watching, over the crowd to see what I could see, and watching these professionals hit these unbelievable shots. I mean, it was just awesome. And that's kind of what started my love for golf. Now, these days, I watch it pretty much more on TV than I do play, because I just can't get out there as much. But that is kind of where my love for golf began.
Yeah. Well, the Wyndham is just as much a social event as it is a golf event. I mean, you can know not a thing about golf and still have an enjoyable time at the Wyndham Championship. And I love the environment out there every year, the diversity of people out there every year, the charities that the tournament supports every year, and you can see all these cool different things. Normally there's a sand sculpture with a different theme, normally of a Wyndham property, Wyndham hotel chain. So they make this sand sculpture into a theme of one of those resorts, like a ski resort or a beach resort. And then there's also typically what's called a key to win house, where you can swipe a key card and get a prize, which is normally some kind of a Wyndham gear. So there's really something to do for everybody. Of course, the little tent, often called Margaritaville, is popular. They have some live music, and so We're not sure what's on tap exactly this year. Of course, they're all reconsidering these COVID precautions still in place, but 15,000 fans every day. This is really going to be kind of a sense of renewed normalcy again, a great chance to get out. I remember in 2015 when Tiger Woods came to the Wyndham Championship, it was a huge deal, and he was tied at first initially in the tournament and then fell short, but he had massive crowds. Christian Morgan, I don't know if you remember that. I know you're a local guy too. Just these massive crowds of people following him around from hole to hole.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's just such a big event, not only for Greensboro, for the Triad. And like you said, Megan, it's as much a social event as it is a golf event. And even if you don't know a whole lot about golf, you've heard of some of these names or some of these players before that are on the big tours. And a lot of those big names are coming right through Greensboro. So it's actually a big opportunity for them, if they do well in the Wyndham, to advance on to another tournament. So you can see a lot of these big name guys, big name people that you hear about and see on TV all the time come right through Greensboro. And you can get within, several feet of them, which is really, really cool. I think one of my best memories of the Wyndham was probably 3 or 4 years ago. Not even the tournament itself, but the program before the tournament started. I actually followed alongside of the governor and a couple other folks, well-known folks that came out and played that pro-am tournament just before the actual practice rounds and before the big name players arrived. So there's stuff to do at Sedgefield Country Club with the Wyndham all week long leading up to the big tournament. It's just a fun event.
Yeah, and if you're lucky enough, they will they used to sign your golf balls for you.
Yeah.
I've had 2 balls signed, one by VJ Singh and the other by
cool.
Webb Simpson.
Nice.
Yeah, I just caught him at the right time. One, I was at work and I was getting ready for a live shot and I was like, I'll be right back. And I ran over and got Webb Simpson's autograph on my golf ball. And that is in an encasement in my house.
I remember, Megan was talking about the big crowds that followed Tiger Woods. And I mean, if you were out at the tournament that year, wherever Tiger Woods was, it was just this mob, just that just would follow him from the hole to hole to hole.
Yeah. I would have been in that group.
Yeah, me too.
I would have been right there, but I didn't go that year. I think I had, it probably has something to do with the child. I don't know.
Well, let me carry you way back.
Okay. Way back.
Okay,
How far
back
are we
to
going?
the 80s and 90s, remember? Yeah. The Kmart GGO down at Forest Oaks. Oh, man.
Yeah.
We're talking about some nostalgia here. Boy, that was a great time. Just like the Wyndham, we would produce live a noon show there and do all the news and weather and sports there. And on the 18th green, WFMY had this gigantic tent that was full of food. Oh, and we would have a lot of our advertisers, people that advertise on WFMY, to come by and meet and greet and have some food. So yeah, it was a big social event. And oh yeah, there was a golf game that was just as much fun. I had an opportunity over the years to meet just about every star on the soap, The Young and the Restless, my favorite show.
Yeah.
And so it was just a great time. We interviewed them and oh, it was just so much fun.
And remember all the goodies you would take home in your bag?
Oh yeah,
Like from hats
freebies.
to pens. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Water bottles, like anything you could think of. Frisbees. I would leave with 10 times more stuff than I came with.
I think I missed out on a really good time. I should have been born a few years earlier.
Didn't Jimmy Buffett show up one year?
Yeah.
Wasn't? Yes.
Within the last decade.
Yeah, it was like a surprise in the last 5 years. Jimmy Buffett himself showed up to the tournament when the tent was called Margaritaville and played a couple songs.
Funny story about that. I'm not going to name names or locations because I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
Okay.
But there was a job that I was working a couple years ago, and my coworker was also a drummer and somehow left work early because he was sick. And then was spotted on stage with Jimmy Buffett later.
Oh my gosh.
I know who you're talking about.
I'm not going to name names or locations, but if you know who I'm talking about, you know who it is.
Oh, man.
That's great.
Well, the good thing is he's still employed there.
That's right. Yeah.
It worked out.
It did. And of course, at that point, I mean, if you've been on stage with Jimmy Buffett, I mean, that's pretty. You've got a pretty good bargain to drive.
Exactly. I mean, you can work out the job stuff later.
Yeah, worry about it later.
And some people are sharing some memories. I want to share a few of them. They're making me laugh. Carol first said, I don't really watch. And then she said, wait, did I hear margaritas? So that's pretty funny. Jason was actually there when Tiger played. He said, we set up on the #1 green and ended up being on TV while Tiger putted. That's cool. Sharia just can't get into golfing, but Dana said the sweet spot at the Wyndham is walkable from her mom's house, so she doesn't have to deal with parking. So we need to find out where that is.
Tracy and I said we know where we're parking at this year.
Yeah.
Absolutely. She is my very good friend. She was in my wedding. She never told me that I could park at her house, so
Oh, okay.
oh, it's okay. I know where I'm going this year.
Look, if you offer to bring food to anywhere, it works.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying.
Oh yeah.
Food
on
and
deck.
drinks.
Yeah.
Food and
Oh,
drinks,
yeah.
that works.
You know, parking is really actually not that bad at the Wyndham. The past few times I've been, I've parked at the Greensboro Coliseum and taken the shuttle to the Wyndham. Super easy, very efficient. That way you don't have to worry about parking close by. And
Yeah. And if you're working the event,
Yeah.
you just get the best parking ever. Right in the curb.
oh, yeah, the media lot.
Oh yeah.
That's prime.
We can do weather out at the Wyndham this year, right, bosses?
Ooh, that
Hello?
sounds like a plan.
Yeah, let's all go. Field
Only
anchoring
if
the
it's
show.
weather like this. I'm not going out there when it's hot and humid.
Put the hair in
Sorry.
ponytail. We'll
I can't tell you what it's going to be like
Sorry.
for the Wyndham. Not yet.
All right, Ed Matthews, let's take a look at our forecast before we head out.
Let's do that. I am certainly enjoying being in the weather garden this morning. It is an absolutely gorgeous morning, going to be a great day. Low humidity, we're up about 84 tonight. How about cooling it down? You betcha. We're going to drop maybe some low 50s, but in general mid 50s across the Piedmont. Tomorrow about 83, sunshine. Enjoy it. It's not going to last very long. The heat and humidity start to come back a little bit on Friday, but especially as we head into the weekend. Look at Saturday. We'll be up around 91, upper 80s on Father's Day, with maybe a pop-up storm in the afternoon. And then, of course, we do expect some tropical development in the western Gulf of Mexico, and we'll be tracking that system once it develops and just see where that remnant moisture goes. Some of it could move into the Piedmont, so that's the reason right now we're increasing the chance of rain and thunderstorms as we go into Monday and Tuesday, but we'll be tracking that for the rest of the week once it develops, and of course right on through the weekend.
Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. Lunch outside, great park day, get out and walk, ride a bike.
Some golf club.
Some golf. Have a baby, Stacy.
Yeah, I would be totally happy with that. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, you never know. It could be coming.
On baby
well, we
watch
know it's
here.
coming, right? Just don't know when.
Any day now, y'all.
Hey, thanks so much for spending part of your morning here with us on After GMS on the News 2 Facebook page. We do this every weekday at 7:45.
Have a great day.
See ya.